Ah, Disney Channel.
Joyful, kid-friendly, family fun, right?
See, everything looks fine. Nothing to worry about.
Now you would be wrong if you thought that. What you don't know is one of Disney's darkest secrets. What am I talking about?
Monsters, Inc.
That's right. The movie everyone loves, right? It's just monsters. Well, actually, no. Because in this movie, I have discovered some of the darkest secrets that Disney has ever put to film. Get ready, this conspiracy video is gonna blow your mind.
Let's start from the very beginning.
Okay, so far it's just an intro. But wait, did you see that?
Look, it's a door, and it leads to nowhere.
Now, what's the significance behind this door? Well, there is a theory that the monsters in Monsters, Inc. are dead. So everything we see in the movie, the monsters, the screams, it's all just part of the nightmare. There it was again. The door to darkness. See, the beginning looks all kid-friendly. They have the jazz music and animation, but that is precisely what is misleading us from what they really want to say. There's a lot more to this movie than just screams. Did you spot that? In the corner of the bedroom is a toy box. The monsters in this movie just think that everything's a simulation, but that's exactly the point. The movie itself is a simulation. Think about it. How does Disney make money? They make movies, and they get people like you and me to go and watch them. Everything is controlled, everything is handled without your knowledge, and this is just the beginning.
Simulation terminated. Simulation terminated. Simulation terminated. Simulation terminated.
Now, there's another theory that this movie is in a parallel universe. So this is just one example, but you can see there's a two-headed horse drawing right above the kid's bed. And how do you think Disney and the government enter and influence our minds? They do it when we're asleep. Yes, so what you just saw was Sully in a black and white photo. You might be thinking, it's just a photo. No, again, it's another sign that this movie is in a parallel universe. Sully is actually dead. This movie is really just a bunch of flashbacks, dreams, nightmares of his life.
I'm Monsters Incorporated. It's we scare because we care.
We scare because we care. If it isn't already obvious yet, Disney is trying to scare us. But no, not in the kid fun friendly way. I mean the adult, real life death. Think of it this way. Disney owns much of our childhood and entertainment. They put these stories in their movies so that they can scare us not to question them, ever.
Hey, genius, you want to know why I bought the car?
Did you catch that on the newspaper? It said scream shortages, rolling blackouts, and modern kids are harder to scare. Now, why would that be the case that kids these days are harder to scare? Thanks to today's technology, newer generations of kids are being brainwashed and desensitized to violence. It's no wonder they aren't scared of monsters. Yes, that cafe was named Hidden City. It is precisely because Monsters, Inc. is all in a dream. Did you catch that? There were 3-digit values in the newspaper. Now, it's a small detail, but it just goes to show that this movie is in a parallel universe.
Scream to go around.
It said vegetables and fruit. Just another example, it's in a parallel universe. We typically say fruits and vegetables, but maybe we're wrong. It's like the Mandela effect. Berenstein, Berenstein. Again, more 3-digit numbers. Now in this shot, we get a view of Monsters, Inc., where all of the monsters scare the sweet little kids. But doesn't this look familiar in real life? There is an album cover by the band Pink Floyd, and the resemblance is striking. Yeah, I know. Pretty crazy, right? Now I think it's obvious, but what we just saw was a map of real life. Think about it. It's a map of our entire world. They could have made a completely different map, but no, they decided to replicate real life. Well, again, this also adds to the theory that Sully is dead.
I just got us into a little place called Harryhausen.
So Mike Wazowski has just landed a sweet, beautiful date with the snake lady at a restaurant called Harryhausen's.
But it's impossible to get a reservation there.
There's just one question.
Not for Googly Bear.
Doesn't that sound an awful lot like the magician, Harry Houdini? There's magic involved here, but they don't want to tell you directly. Okay, in this scene, there's a line that Randall says that I just didn't really notice when I was a kid, but now that I'm older, I realize just what it means.
Shh. Do you hear that? It's the winds of change. You hear the winds of change? What a creep.
The winds of change. Now what exactly is Randall saying? Just think what the wind is. It's a force in life, something we can't touch or sense, but we can feel it. And that's exactly what Disney is doing to our minds and emotions. Now if you notice carefully, in the right hand corner there's a section with a bunch of due dates for the kid, and it looks an awful lot like the library stamps you would use to check out books. Now why would Disney want to include this detail? Well, think about it. They're checking out kids. Kids. Every generation of kids, they check out. And what happens when every generation of kids grow up? They check them out. So there's another view of our world just to remind us that Disney knows where we are. Okay, there's no conspiracy in this shot, but it is one of the greatest moments that Disney has put to film. It's just such a great moment. Okay, back to conspiracy theories.
We are on in 7, 6, 5.
Did you hear something a little odd about what he said? They start the countdown at 7 seconds. Well, that's kind of odd, because usually we count down from 3 or 10, but no, here it's 7. Now the number 7 is referenced to many biblical and religious ties, and usually it's a revelation or an end to something. It's a prophecy of the end of the world. Monsters Inc. is showing us what the end of the world will look like. Children screaming.
George and I are like brothers. 2319! We have a 2319!
George Sanderson.
Fucking cover me!
So the sweet little monster Georgie has a little sock on his back, and what do? They freak out. Now what code name do they say for this emergency? 2319. Here's something. If you add those two numbers up, what do you get? You get the number 42. Now 42 is sometimes known as the everything number. It's the number that answers everything in the universe. So when they send help with the number 2319, what they're really saying is that the universe is all going to flames, and that everyone, including us, needs help.
What? Hey, that looks like Randall.
So in Monsters Inc., Randall is portrayed as one of the villains, one of the bad guys. But there's something strange about this conclusion. You see, remember what Randall said? It's coming. The winds of change. There is a theory out there that Randall is actually not a bad guy. He is just telling us what's coming next. Now this is another scene that doesn't have any conspiracy attached to it. I just always get emotional whenever I see this. If you listen closely, this is the same music that happens at the very end of the movie, Sully and Boo reunite. It's a musically clever and very touching way of utilizing music and the characters. And the reason why it's so effective at the very end is because we go along their journey throughout the movie. It's so good. But seriously, this has to be one of the greatest things that Disney has done with its music. No, I'm not crying. Now in this conversation, Mike tells Sully the dangers of holding on to the kid. He says that if they get caught, they will be banished. He then references several real-life creatures that have banished.
Loch Ness, Bigfoot, the Abominable Snowman. They all got one thing in common, pal. Banishment.
Now why would he include this here? Well, just think about what's happening in the world today, and the media. There is a theory, and I believe it's just more than a theory, that the media is controlling what you see. And things like myths, stories, legends, and even the truth will be banished.
We could be next.
So in this scene, Rando tells Mike that they need to return the kid in 5 minutes.
What happens when the whistle blows in 5 minutes?
But if you listen to the figurative language that he uses, it's a lot more sinister than you think. Who says whistle blows in 5 minutes anyway? Well, that sounds an awful lot like the whistleblower. And we've heard a lot in the media about whistleblowers in the government, including Trump and everyone. It would not be a surprise if somewhere down the line, a whistleblower in Disney spilled everything and all the secrets that they were hiding. Rando was trying to tell us. So in the next scene, Sully and Mike get banished by Mr. Waternoose, who turns out to be the villain of the movie. And do you remember Mike talking about being banished earlier in the movie? Well, now they are cast away, banished from society.
No, 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 no!
It's too late. We're banished, genius.
So Mike, Sully, and Boo go on a rescue mission to find Boo's door.
We have to get Boo's door.
What a plan.
And in so doing so, they discover the Door universe. Now there's a lot of theories out there about what the doors could mean or represent. My theory is that the doors represent the infinite parallel universes that are out there. Think about it. It's a kid's laugh that enables the door to open. And what do they always say about kids? They are the future, the potential. Disney is indirectly saying that kids are the ones who will save this world.
Oh boy.
Oh, not a theory, but I think that this would be a really fun roller coaster.
Don't look down!
So Sully and Mike's plan was to lure Mr. Waternoose into one of the simulation rooms and reveal himself, and he fell for it.
Simulation terminated.
I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I spotted several big mistakes.
Now there's a couple of different theories out there about what exactly this means. Some people think that the simulation is just what happens in the movie, but some don't think it's a simulation at all. My theory is a mix of both of them. I believe that in this scene, this is a rare mistake that Disney makes. It reveals how they have been simulating children to watch their movies. And what do you think happens when the kids grow up? They have kids, and those kids watch Disney movies just like them. It's all a simulation, all a game. Meanwhile, Disney is making the big bucks. So at the very end of the movie, Sully is reunited with Boo. It's a bittersweet moment and one of the best endings to one of the greatest Disney films of all time. That's a fact. But beneath this happy ending, there's something a little more disturbing. Sully sees Boo again. Okay, but what happens next? They don't show that. Now, there are some theories that Sully goes between seeing Mike and Boo, and because they made a sequel, Monsters University, we kind of know what happens next. But in the spirit of conspiracies, I would like to make my own theory on how this movie ends. Do you remember one of the theories I mentioned at the beginning of this video? I had said that Sully is dead, or that he is living in a nightmare. My theory is that Sully is in denial. Now that everything is fulfilled in his life, he doesn't really have much to be in this life. So what does he do? He visits Boo. And Boo represents a child. It represents innocence, our childhood. But kids also represent potential and life and new ways to the future. And that's the whole message of this movie that Disney was trying to say. Kids are the future in this life. We need to embrace them and not be scared of them. But that's just my theory.